I kind of do. Hi, thanks for coming in today and on Saturday morning to help me with this presentation. This is Google Tips and Tricks, and I'm going to show you some things that can help you use your Gmail and two tools you may have never heard of before, but we'll get to that in a moment. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about Gmail. Do you all use Gmail?
I do, yeah.
Okay, and then Google Keep and Google Tasks. Have you ever heard of these two apps?
No, I've heard, but I've not used them.
Okay, they are both applications that work in tandem with Google Tools, and they're not even an add-on that you have to download. They're just part of the G Suite. So I just want to say first, before we get it truly going, that this is what my desk looked like yesterday, right here. And this is how many unread emails were in my inbox, 219. So I am a work in progress, and I'm by no means an expert in email organization. So we're just learning together. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about what the issues are, and then how that applies to ourselves and our students to be the most productive as possible, and then what we can do with that information growing forward. So first, let's see. Everyone stand up, and I'm going to ask you how many emails you have, okay? So sit down if you have 4 or more emails, and let me qualify that by saying that if you have an inbox, private email, Hotmail, Gmail, Yahoo, if you have work accounts, if you have instant messengers with, any of the social media, those are also considered email inboxes because it's direct one-to-one communication, okay, through some sort of electronic device. So sit down if you have 4 or more email accounts. Sit down if you have 3 or more email accounts. Sit down if you have 2 or more. Okay, and I've done this exercise before where the only people still standing with just 1 email account was an administrator and who was older, and then a teacher that had been teaching for 37 years. And she only had 1 email account, and it was her school email. And she realized after we discussed it that she was going to have to figure out how to get all of her information she wanted to take with her post-retirement out of that work email, because she had never stored anything in a personal email system. So, but let's look at the averages for 2018. So in 2018, the average person had 2 accounts. I think that this has increased as people get on more and more social media sites. And then 121 daily emails to inboxes is the average. The average person gets about 121 emails each day. And then there's 124.5 billion emails sent worldwide in any given day. So those were the averages for 2018. So the average person has 1,099 unread emails in their inbox. And this is not me, because I cleaned it out because I knew I was teaching this today. But the average person has just over 1,000 unread emails. Why do we not read our emails? It's kind of like the junk drawer in the kitchen where we just put our junk mail and we pretend like it's not there. So there's 3 different types of email personality types and how they handle email. We have the filer, deleter, and they see a message in the inbox and take action immediately. Okay, so that's you. Mm-hmm. And then the saver, they have few unread emails, so they read them, but they don't really do anything with them. They don't delete them or store them in any way. And then we have the ignorer, who doesn't really read them and also doesn't delete them.
That's me.
That's you. So they're just parked there for a rainy day maybe. Do you ever have urges to go through and clean it out?
I do, but then I realize I have 4,000 and that's just not going to happen.
It's too overwhelming, so then you just don't deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever lost anything important that you needed to find?
Oh, for sure.
Okay, so it happens. So tell me if you have ever worked with a student who has never checked or responded to their email. Okay, and this applies to parents too, right? So, or they're unaware or surprised by missing messages that they perhaps didn't get. maybe you delayed a due date or something and they come in all prepared and you said, well, I posted that in your group email. Or they have a disorganized Google Drive or no folder system at all, right? So they are trying to find something, and maybe you've even seen them do an assignment. You know they did it. They sat in your class, they did the assignment, but then they can't find it, right? And so I've had some seniors that they're trying to find something, and I come over and look, and they'll open their Google Drive. There are no folders. There are no subfolders. It's 4 years worth of assignments that they cannot find. And of course, we know they don't necessarily label or name their files appropriately. And so the keyword search is not helpful to them at all. So we need to model this behavior and teach our students how to be productive. Okay, that's the crux of it. We want to be productive and effective, not miss professional moments that we should be on top of, right? Responding to our admin if they send us an email or something. But also, we need to model it to our students so that they can be successful, not only in the classroom, but also in the professional workplace, right? So, this quote, organization isn't something you teach once and forget about. Kids and young adults need frequent opportunities to practice, discuss, and use skills. Organization is really embedded into every single thing we do. So organization doesn't come naturally. And so if you find yourself being frustrated with disorganization of your students, it may be they haven't had many opportunities to practice being organized, right? So we need to establish an organization system. We need to teach it to our students. We need to do it for ourselves personally, and then try to model that behavior. Executive functioning is a vital part of how to be successful, not only in high school, but in your adult life. So we need to take time to practice and refine. I would encourage you, when you're giving assignments, tell your students how to save them and what naming convention to use. They won't automatically know how to name their files and store them. Give them a subfolder for your class so that when they go into Drive, they'll have 7 different folders for that school year. And I even go so far as to organize by year, right? So my 1920 classes, my 2021 classes, my subfolders in that. And then you know how to save your assignments, okay? And then falling forward. You're human. You know what works for you, what doesn't work for you. Not the same tools will work for every student. And if you're vulnerable enough to tell them, you know, I tried this system, but it didn't work for me. So now I just am storing everything in a different manner. Maybe they have a math folder, or they have an English folder, an ELA folder. Be willing to be transparent about what did and didn't work for you so that it can help your students know that it's okay to try different ways to be successful. Okay, so in Gmail, which we all have a district account for our Gmail, you can search, find, and delete different types of emails. And if you just have a boatload of unread emails, you can, in your search term, you can type is:(unread). I'm not sure if you can read that, but if you type is:(unread) in your search code, it will find all of your unread emails. So you can quickly scan them and then just delete them if you know you don't need them anymore. You can also find them and label them. So if you sort by who the email is from, right? Sort first, and then type in your is:(unread), then everything will be grouped by who sent it to you. So if you know you get junk mail from Scholastic that you don't have time to read or deal with, you can highlight all of those and do in one command, just delete them all from your Gmail. So that's a quick hack that can help you. And then you can also organize your mail with labels. So this quick sorting method, everything unread, you can label all of your email accounts that are from a certain person with a certain color. And Gmail is intuitive, so it's smart. And from that point on, any emails coming in from that person, it will also auto-label them for you, okay? So for example, if I know I'm getting emails from the SPED teacher, I can label that a certain color so that it jumps out at me and I know this might be IEP related, 504 related, and it also will save it in a folder so that it's not in my inbox and vulnerable to somebody walking by and seeing something that's confidential. So one way that you can teach this to your students, how is this helpful for students? Because students think email is obsolete. They don't think it's important, but we all know in the adult world, you have email, and I don't see it going anywhere anytime soon. But for students, juniors and seniors that might be getting emails from the counseling department or the career counselor, they might be getting emails about scholarship application deadlines, FAFSA deadlines, and stuff like that. So if they create a rule, create a label saying anything coming from the counseling department that's graduation topic related, they can label it, and then it will pop out and have a color attached to it. So we have these flags here, and I put a lot more labels in there than I normally would have, but just to demonstrate to you, I have a different color code for my different classes. So I created a folder for each class. Google calls them labels. I was Outlook email for years, so I say folder, label is interchangeably. Okay, I see some of you nodding. So anything that, if I get an email from a student or a parent about accounting, I would put it in there. And so it just intuitively starts to learn. I encourage you not to create too many labels, right? Because what if you have that student in accounting class this year, but then they are in my marketing class next year, and it puts it in the wrong label, right? And then I maybe miss an email. So I would use your labels to be smart about generic categories, but not be too finite in your categorization of emails. All right, so another Gmail hack is that if you get an email and you know you need to do something with it, but it's not gonna happen for a month, okay? You can snooze an email and say, I want you to come back into my inbox like you're brand new at a certain time. So let me give you a live demo using my inbox of what that would look like. So there's two ways to snooze an email. You can open the actual email, and at the top of your screen, I'll just open an email. At the top, you have all of these tools. This arrow is where you can assign a label, but next to it, 2 icons over, is a clock, and it will pop up and say snooze. So if you click on snooze, it'll ask you different time frames. It'll say later today, tomorrow, next week, or you can set a specific day and time. So for example, I used this when I knew I was going to have guest speakers for my accounting class, but they're not coming till May, and I confirmed that, and they told me their contact information. So I snoozed an email until the beginning of May. So it would pop up for me, reminding me to confirm that they're coming and that kind of stuff, but I don't want to store it in my email inbox for 2.5 months. So I'm going to go ahead and cancel because I don't want to snooze that email. So that's the first way to snooze. Also, if you don't want to open the email and you want to snooze it, you can, over at the right, hit the snooze button here. You can archive, which is essentially deleting. You can put it into a folder, mark it as unread, or hit snooze. And so you can do it from there if you don't want to open your email.
Where do they go if they're snoozed?
To, I don't know, Google heaven. I'm not sure.
But they just come back.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it disappears. You don't see it in your inbox anymore, but it's not like it's been filed in a folder.
Correct.
Interesting.
Correct.
Okay.
And then if I tested this out, if I search for that email, like let's say I need to see it between now and then, maybe our school says no more guest speakers because of Corona, and I can search their name in my search folder or the search icon, and it will still pull it up even though it's been snoozed. Okay, so it's out there in the Googleverse somewhere. Good question. Sorry, I don't have all the answers. Okay, so that's a snooze tool that can be helpful. And for those of you that have never had a fully empty inbox, this is what it looks like. My sister was kind enough to taunt me with this image to show me what an empty email inbox looks like. This is my goal, but I haven't gotten there yet. So the next tool or trick I want to show you is Google Keep, which you indicated you hadn't heard of or know much about. Like I said, it's part of the G Suite offering, so you don't have to download anything to use it. Google Keep is really handy. It's a way to make notes or take notes. You can send it out to your students, and they can create check boxes within it if they have like an assignment with various steps, or you can also use it as a teaching tool, and I'll show you that in a minute. So you can make your list different colors. So I use Google Keep with different colors based on what the subject matter is, and then I can see really quickly what different categories my Keep notes are. You can also access your Keep notes through your smartphone through different devices. So it doesn't matter if you're at a desktop at school or on your home computer or whatever. If you need to look at your Keep Notes, you can access it anywhere that you can log into your G Suite system. So if you think of it as virtual Post-it notes, okay, except for it's a lot more interactive.
Can you collect?
Yeah.
Can other people access my note or my
Yes.
Keep Note? Like,
Yes.
So, like my small group projects, my students could work to you use a checklist that goes together
Exactly.
as a group, small group.
Yep, and that was one of the things, so you can use it to take notes just personally. So like if I was sitting in this session, I could pull up a Google Keep and take notes on key points that I wanted to remember. You can also use it in your class just up on the screen as a daily agenda. And as you go through, I know for us with 85-minute classes, you might have several activities planned for that 85-minute period. And if you keep returning to your Google Keep and check off of it as you go through, the students kind of track and know what to expect for the remainder of the learning time. You can share learning goals with other teachers or students, but you can also use a teacher to teacher. If you have a collaborative project or co-teaching that you're working on, you can share the Keep, and so you're both working on it. So if I accomplish something and we're working on something together and I am done with that, I check mark it, and you're able to pull up the same Google Keep and can see that it's already been done and move on to the next task. So this is an example of how you can use Google Keep in the classroom. You can upload a picture to your note, and then you can leave the note-taking part of it blank. So as you're teaching through the respiratory system, they're supposed to add a checklist of all the key points, and then you can use it as a formative assessment really quick to see, did they get all the key points that I just taught, right? And then that also becomes a study tool for prepping for a test, right? They can share this with other students if they have a study group that they're using, and I broke those down into different images for the different parts of skeletal, circulatory, and respiratory. So it can be individual or group work, and you can also assign a group project and assign a different Google Keep note to your different groups. So share it with just a handful of students in your class, not the whole class. And then they can work on a group project together and be able to share and discuss with each other what each person has done. There's also a way in the back end for you to go see which students checked off on which points. So if you are wanting to make sure all parts of your group were participating in that group assignment, you're able to do it that way. If you want to add an image at the top of your Google Keep note, you can, let's see, I'll show you this demo. You click on the photo icon right here and add an image from your folder, and then it will become, there it goes. So then it becomes a task, and then you can add check marks to it. So this is some resource links. They'll be in the presentation that I'm giving today that I'll share out to you. So if you want more information, more tutorials, you need to see it again, they're all in these links down here, okay? You can also store different badges, gifts, quotes, common sayings. So if you're an ELA teacher and you give a lot of feedback on papers and you find yourself typing the same thing over and over again, you can store those notes. This first example is if you have badges that you give to your students, you can just click, drag, and bring it over into their Google Doc assignment that they submitted, and it'll show up in their assignment. The next one, you can use Google Keep. So this is a library of common comments that you might maybe give feedback to your students, and you have them here, each one, and then you can drag them into the comment section of Google Doc to give quick feedback without having to type over and over again. The third way, I think this is pretty fun. Students would probably enjoy this if we did this more, but different gifts based on their work effort, right, or the product result of their assignment. So this one says, easy peasy lemon squeezy with, who is that from The Walking Dead? So anyway, you can use the gifts to, use humor when you're giving feedback to your students. So I just want to show you an example of my Google Keep so you can see what it looks like. And it's loading. And you can see my different color codes there. I have different subsections that I label my Google Keep notes, and guess what? That label that I'm using coincides with our Gmail, right? So if I label something in my Gmail and I want to put it into Google Keep, I can drag my email over into Google Keep and it will label it and it will match the same color, okay? So like this is CTE pathway work and FBLA, and so I can share how students are able to letter in FBLA and do different things for the club. So I share this with the club members and they're able to get in here and look at the checklist of what's required. And I can also set deadlines, which will then remind me if I have a checklist and I know I need to accomplish it by a certain amount of time, it will come in and remind it, okay? So you can create those if you have any questions on that. And then these are all the resources for Google Keep if you have more questions there. So then Google Tasks is the last tool that I'll talk about today. And Google Tasks, it's in your Gmail. You can access it through your Gmail or through your calendar, okay? And you can add tasks, you can categorize them, you can organize them by chronological, when they're due, or different. You can drag and drop your tasks if you want to reorganize their due dates. It's essentially a virtual to-do list, right? And you can access, again, Google Tasks through your smartphone, through any device. You can work on things on a device even if it's not synced to the internet, and then the next time you sync up with the internet, it will update anything that you may be accomplished or checked off or added to your Google Tasks. So yeah, it's enabled for iOS, Android, and Gmail web applications. Okay, so from Gmail, this is the calendar setting actually. So down here, you have a tasks box. So if you click that, then it will pop up over here to the side of your calendar, and you just start typing to create a task, okay? Then as you accomplish them, you can check them off, and you can tell it, I want it to disappear completely from my list, or I want it to have like a strike through. So if you're the kind of person you want to see what you accomplished,
Yes.
you would maybe want to change it. Or it also, you can set it so it'll just drop down to the bottom and show the check mark. So depending on what kind of visual approval you need from yourself to accomplish things, right? You can tell it to remind you, and this is nice. If I tell a student that I'm going to bring something in for them, like I had a student shooting a marketing video and they needed a graduation cap and gown to shoot their commercial, and I said, oh, I have one at home, I'll bring it in for you. I set a task reminder that I needed to get something, but I set it for 6 p.m. at night because I knew that's when I was going to be home. It popped up on my phone, and I went and got the cap and gown and put it by the door so that I remember to bring it in.
Do you have to have the app downloaded for it to pop up on your phone, or would it just sync with your Gmail?
There is an app that you can download, but it also, my pop-ups pop up through my calendar,
Okay.
which is already on my phone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is just a video showing you how to add and how to enter dates, okay? You can create checklists and sublists. You can also move your tasks into Google Keep Notes, which I thought was really interesting. So it will sync it there. I don't necessarily use it that way all that often. I keep them separate. My Google Tasks is more of a to-do list, reminders for me. When they were waxing the stairs a few weeks ago, I set a task reminder that it kept popping up for me, reminding me which stairs to use, which normally you guys wouldn't, forget that, but you'd be surprised what I'd forget to do and walk past an orange cone and walk where I'm not supposed to. So, and then when that was done, I just checked it and it disappeared. All right, so there's two ways I said you can access Google Tasks. This is through the calendar, and this is what I just showed you. And if I have previously used Google Tasks, it'll auto open on the side. But let's say I had closed it for some reason to expand my web page. Right here along the side, you may have never noticed it before, but it's always there. You have the little yellow light bulb for Google Keep and the blue check mark for tasks. And so you can click on it, it will expand it, and then you can add your tasks there. And then the second way is through Gmail. And this is what I really love. If I know I have an action item that was generated by an email request from counselors or SPED department, I have an IEP I need to respond to, I can click on the email. Let me go ahead and open my tasks. okay? I can click on an email and drag it over. Let me give it a second to think. I can drag the whole email over and create a task from the email. So it left my inbox and it's in my tasks. And if I need to read the contents, I can just click on the envelope and it'll open the email and tell me you were supposed to do this. And so then I can create an action list out of my emails and I can set a deadline, I can set a reminder, and when it's done, I can check it off. And if I've labeled it, it will archive into that label folder. But if not, then it will just archive. So I think that's really handy to be able to clear out our email and be more organized and move emails that require action over. And then there's some more resources down here that will be in the presentation if you want to see more. Do you have any questions?
I've been kind of asking as I've been going, but
Yeah.
Google Keep. So if I wanted Google Keep on my phone, do I have to download the Google Keep app?
There is an app.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
So, yeah. And then I think that they're trying to make it so that it would work with all of your Google synced applications. So since you work on it through, you can sync it through Drive. You can sync it through any of your Google Doc, Google Sheets, Google Slides. So it's always available there in that right-hand margin to access. And so if you have like Docs and Sheets on your phone, if you go into one of those, you can open it through that portal.
Okay.
But you can download an app specifically for Google Keep.
Okay, so I like the idea of how I can move an email into my tasks and how that takes it out of my inbox, because I'm one of those people that likes few emails. But if when I complete the task and I can mark it complete, right? Where does it go? So if I wanted to have that email or have that information for history's sake, does it automatically archive tasks?
It will archive, so if you label it, it will go to that archive folder.
Oh, got it.
That's
Okay.
specifically labeled.
You're right.
I think it won't email or it won't delete without asking you. So if I check it off, I don't ever let anything delete. When I check something off in tasks, personally, I don't. It just strikes through and moves it to the bottom of my list because I am one of those people that likes to see what I've accomplished. But then from there, I can drag it to a folder if I want to, or if I know I'm never going to need it again, I can delete at that point. But I don't. There is a setting where you can check things off and it'll auto delete that task or email.
But you would have to set it up to tell it to do that.
Right,
Okay.
right. It won't automatically delete unless you tell it to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool.
So you have your students use Google Tasks and Google Keep, and you've shown them how to use it, correct?
Right. So thank you for that, because in advisory with our students, one of the things we're supposed to do each time that Jeff has said to us is your students in that first 5 minutes before they go to other classes for seminar is to check their email. We should be modeling and demonstrating this, and I'm not going to ask for a show of hands of how many of us have our students check their email, but that is something that we can have them do. And they can create a checklist and tasks for any missing work that they have. And so every time they open their Google account, the tasks is going to pop up and remind them, you have this missing work. And I know we get that through Google Classroom too. It will remind students that way too. But sometimes a second different app that pops up on their Chromebook might be helpful also to help them know. So yes, you can model that behavior at the first few minutes of advisory, and that's school-wide. All 4 grade levels would be experiencing that consistent modeling of organizing themselves.
Have you seen improvement in their organization with using Google Tasks and Google Keep?
In my advisory, I have. Yeah, they're sophomores, and so they don't have a complete buy-in yet. But I think when they get to junior year and we start talking about scholarship applications available to juniors and some of those things, and I have them creating tools to help organize their prep for their launch out of the nest, I think that I will have more buy-in.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So for Google Tasks, let's say there's a group, is there a way for a group to each have it labeled a certain task for each person?
Oh, like can you assign tasks?
With it, do you mean Google Keep?
Either one.
Okay, so with Google Keep, you can assign people within the checklist. So you would share your Keep note to your group, right?
Yeah.
And so when you create the checklist of maybe project assignments, the different requirements in the rubric, I think the best way to do that would put the student's name and then what the task is, if you're wanting to, nail it down that far. But if you just want to create the list and let them have the autonomy to decide who does what, they can discuss that amongst themselves, and then you just see as a whole group assigns or accomplishes that task.
Mhm.
And then, like I said, on the back end, you can go in and see who checked off each box.
So Google Keep is better for group work than Google Tasks is more individual kind of checklists.
Right. Google
Okay.
Tasks is more of a to-do list.
Okay.
I think you can share tasks with other people, but I never have. It's just my own personal organizing emails and reminders of things that I need to accomplish for me personally. Yeah.
Cool.
Cool. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.